Yeah, well, perhaps Dan, good morning to you, good morning Matt. It's not what I make of it, it's what the enormous reaction has already been from previous allies, wannabe allies and opposition leaders to Mrs May. It seems, and this seems to be the consensus, that there hasn't been one independent politician who isn't in the cabinet who's come out yet and said, yes, I can vote for this as well. She made the speech at PwC here in London yesterday and is due to present it to MPs today. Now, this is the withdrawal agreement bill, which potentially could early next month, as early as the week of the 3rd of June, go before parliamentarians and as Mrs May's final throw of the dice to try and get her Brexit deal over the table. But there are big questions now, less than 24 hours after her initial speech, of whether it will even get to that vote and whether Mrs May will retain her premiership as well, because there are rumblings that even as early as today at 4 p.m. there could be a 1922 committee meeting of backbenchers who will seek to try and change rules to oust Mrs May and to just basically get a change sooner rather than later. But what did Mrs May have to say? Well, let's listen to her words yesterday.
And only by voting for the withdrawal agreement bill at second reading can MPs provide the vehicle Parliament needs to determine how we leave the EU. So if MPs vote against the second reading of this bill, they are voting to stop Brexit. If they do so, the consequences could hardly be greater. Reject this deal and leaving the EU with a negotiated deal anytime soon will be dead in the water. And what would we do then?
So that was Mrs May yesterday talking about, and there were 10 key points in there, but amongst those was a guarantee that the Commons could vote on whether they would want to have another referendum in the country on the back of this deal as well, whether there would be different customs options voted upon as well. This was another key point as well. A legal obligation for the UK to conclude alternative arrangements to replace the Northern Ireland backstop, legislation on workers' rights, environmental standards, etc., etc. But it seems that there wasn't enough for the DUP, who already said that there were fatal flaws in this. But what about the Labour leadership, who, of course, there were unsuccessful talks with in the last few weeks as well? This is what Mr Corbyn had to say.
All she's offering is a temporary customs union, essentially, until the end of the transition period. She's not offering a permanent customs union, which is the fundamental point that we've made throughout the talks that we had with her. And we broke the talks off because they simply were not making progress, because the government was not changing its red lines.
So a bit of commentary from senior Tories on the back of it. It's the kind of people that she would have hoped to bring round with compromises galore. Boris Johnson, of course, many see as potentially a key challenger for the next leader of the country. He says, this is directly against our manifesto. I will not vote for it. Dominic Raab, former Brexit secretary, says it breaks our clear manifesto policy and promises as well. There was even more scathing comments from the ex-Brexit minister David Jones, who said this is desperate, deluded and doomed from the Prime Minister. And from more moderate voices such as Zach Goldsmith, it is a convoluted mess. And this, of course, all comes on the last day of campaigning before European parliamentary elections, where we are going to apparently send 73 MPs back to the European Parliament. And I can tell you the Tories are polling at high single digit, whereas the Brexit party under Nigel Farage at the moment is polling somewhere between 30 and 35%. I'll hand it back to you in the studio.
Hey everybody, it's Hadley Gamble from our new CNBC Middle East Bureau in Abu Dhabi. Thanks for stopping by. Now, to watch more, you can try one of the videos that just popped up on your screen. And don't forget to subscribe.